Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Lifestyles of the Rich in Faith. This is Kerwin and Brenda Jordan. We welcome you to our YouTube channel and thank you for joining us. Well, I want to get right into it. This is during the Christmas season. We're about a week or so away from Christmas, about to close out the year 2020. And I want to present this question to everybody that sees this video. What will the year 2021 look like for you? What do you envision? What is it your desire? What do you picture the 2021 year being like? I want you to think about that question as I get into some wealth secrets that I want to share with all who get this video. One of the things that I've learned, Brenda and I have been very fortunate to be together as a married couple for 17 years. I think I mentioned that in my last video. Very proud of that. And it seems over the span of all those years, it's been all good. Some of the rough spots or the spots that are maybe not as good, I really don't remember. They're very few and far in between all those years. Something the Lord always brings me back to, and it's interesting that we're coming to the end of the year 2020. This is December 20th, December 20th, Sunday, 2020. And he said, ask the people, put that question to them, what will 2021 be for you now? Specifically for you, he said, don't think about anybody else with that question. And that's the hard part, because usually we think about ourselves, but then we don't think about ourselves. We think about who we love, we think about who we care about, and then we put us somewhere down the list somewhere. But the question is, what will 2021 be like? What do you want it to be like? And so I'm going to share some laws of God that he told me when people not only hear these laws, understand them, but apply them, at that point is when they can expect whatever it is that you desire, whatever it is you want, whatever it is that's of goodness that you just have not seemed to ever experience, this is how to get it. This is how it works from the Creator himself. So, with that being said, I'm going to try to give 9 laws. These are God's laws now, not man's laws. And like I've often said, with God's laws, man has no control over them. And when I get through all 9 of these, and I'm going to stay with this video until I get through all 9 of them. This is not a thing where I'm on a time frame. The Lord told me to remove the time element from your mind, son, and sharing these laws, principles, and concepts with others, because it's important that you have a freedom and flexibility to keep going. And I used to try to just condense everything, because I used to think, and it doesn't matter of losing the attention of others. At least this is being recorded, and you can go back over them and really think about them and study them, because you're probably doing all 9 of these laws without really fully knowing that you're doing them. And I'm just going to bring them to the forefront, as it were, so you have a better understanding that there truly is in life and living nothing accidental, nothing, oh gee, why did that happen? Nothing, oh, I wish this would happen for me. Nothing. Even if it looks like that, like people win the lottery. And I know a lot of people say, oh, I wish I won the lottery. But I'm going to share here what God said. Now, in Genesis chapter 8, sometime do a study when you got time to go be by yourself and read that chapter, because this is a time and period when God himself was speaking to Noah right after the great flood, where God wiped out the entire planet. He literally destroyed all the people off the face of the earth. Now that ought to tell you that we don't know everything that we think we know about God. Because I can hear the Christian mind saying, well, why would God do that? Isn't he love? Right. Yeah, but he's got a side of him that's terrible, that's violent, that destroys. And he's done this more than once. Okay? And I think it's part of the fear of God. Fear of God. And I'm not talking about reverential fear, because I know a lot of religious people in churches and pastors, they try to change that word into fear. It don't mean be afraid of God because he can destroy you, which he can destroy you, but be afraid of God because he's due reverence. No, that ain't that type of fear. Jesus himself said you need to have a fear of God, like being afraid. If you're afraid of anything else, like death, most people are scared of death, scared of sickness and disease, scared of going broke. Usually those three types of things: death, disease, and having no money. Those are like the top three. But you put all three of those together, the greatest of fear of all that is God himself. Yeah. So, in Genesis chapter 8, so this is the person that is saying this, who I just described to you, that wiped out the whole planet, all the people, everything. It says every living substance was destroyed. And he started all over with this one guy's family. 8 people left. 8. So, in closing this chapter in Genesis 8, verse 22, he says, as long as this earth is in place, as long as the earth remains. Now, we're talking about this earth. This is the same earth where you and I are living on today that Noah used to live on. Okay, I want you to get the image of that. This is not some different kind of earth. It's the same one. And I don't know how long it's been here. Now, I know man has different ages and years. That's not important, really. What is important is what I'm about to read. And I'm going to bring it in more of a, hopefully, in an understanding that I think everybody that's looking at this can understand. The words and the language, I trust that they will convey to you a comprehension for you personally, that it will stick with you as you go about your activities each day. So what I want you to focus on is just the year 2021. That's it. Because unless you can get a year down, forget making this a lifestyle, like every year thereafter. It ain't gonna work. I used to think when I taught some of these life principles, people got it. But the Lord told me, no, they don't get it, son. They get some of it, but forget trying to teach a whole way of living. Just see if they can do 1 year of what you're talking about. So this is what I'm asking as I give myself to share this with you, that you will give yourself this 2021 to really practice and do what I'm saying, and see if not by next year, December 2021, your life has not excelled in a greater way. Meaning your money has come up, your health has improved, your relationship with the people, your wife or husband, whoever the closest to you, has gotten better and not worse. But this is the secret. So while the earth remains, Genesis chapter 8, verse 22, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. Now, God told me that in this one verse, there are 9 laws. Now, I'm going to say a law of God, not of men. None of these laws that I'm going to share, like I said, man does not control them. Mankind, society, does not change them. They're unchangeable. Man cannot control them. So the difference between God's laws, and this is what he's talking about, is that they're set, they're fixed. And the idea of making the year 2021 better than this year 2020 is that when you learn how the setup works, because this is the setup, then you want to align yourself with God's setup. And as you do, then the earth, the wealth of the earth, the beauty of the earth, its gorgeousness will begin to respond in such a way to your life that makes you happy. That's it in summary. So law number 1 is called the law of seed. And I struggle with sharing this word seed for a long time. I told God I really didn't want to use that word because of my religious and Christian background, from being taught that seed is money, and in order for me to make a lot of money or get a lot of money, if I don't give my money into the offering of a church or to a ministry that's helping and spreading the so-called gospel and the good news of Jesus throughout the world, you can't expect to get a lot of money into your life. That's what I was taught. Or if I didn't, out of the little bit of money I was making, if you don't give your tithes, at least 10%, into the church, then you're going to be cursed financially. And for years, I thought I did my giving and support out of fear that I didn't want my money to be cursed and have all these financial problems. That's what preachers teach a lot of time. And so the Lord told me that was all wrong. That was not true. You can look at your life and follow. You tithed and did all that. Did your money improve? No, it got worse. So I'm so glad I got free to that now. But when I use the word seed, I want you to understand up front, I'm not talking about money. You can forget money, you can forget good health, you can forget strength, success, and all this wealth stuff that I know you can have. You can forget all that if you don't get this straight. Because God does reward the earth, the world, and this setup that he has is designed to reward those who cooperate with it properly and know how to collaborate with the creation. That's where wealth and riches and abundance comes from. I know, I got it. It took me all these years, 66 years. I was telling Brenda today, 66 years old I am. For some of you, that may not, unless you're older than me, you may not think that's a big deal. But I think it's a big deal. And God congratulated me. And he also rewarded me for hitting 66 years successfully. Because I've got personal proof. Personal proof. Whether you believe it and see it, it doesn't really matter. I'm living in it. And I'm doing this because he asked me and he likes me to do it. For months I've been trying to not do this actually, but I can't and I won't now because I know he's watching and listening, and he said, I like to hear it. And it's his own stuff. It's not stuff that's come from me. So the law of the seed, and what I mean by the seed, and Jesus taught this too, the seed represents the beginning of the start of an activity that you are looking towards, the future of either achieving, acquiring, or accomplishing. That's what a seed is. In other words, it's the beginning, it's the starting point. Now, this is a secret to everything in life. If you want better health, guess what? You're going to have to do something different than what you've been doing that's not working. It's you. It's not your mother. It's not your father, your friend, your preacher, who you're listening to. It's you. It all comes down to the individual. It's not your church. If you're in a bad church, you need to get out of that church. You listen to a bad minister, you need to stop listening to him. if your life doesn't improve to get better, beside them just taking your money. One of the things I thank the Lord for, that I don't have to ask for offerings. I'm so glad. He told me my ministry is not about collecting money. I don't even look for a following either. I love that. I love that. I thank the Lord for that. And so that's why I can say what I want to say, unless YouTube, like they do to so many other people, block you for some stupid reason. But that's what the law of the seed is. It's where you start. You can change your life immediately if you immediately do something different than what you're doing today. So I want you to think about, where are the hard places in your life right now? Where do you have the greatest pain? Where do you have the greatest disappointment? Where do you experience the greatest, oh my God, I wish this was better. I wish I was physically stronger. I wish I was, I wish I had better health. I wish my mind wasn't so uneasy, crazy, intense, anxiety. I wish my job wasn't so bad. I'm giving you some examples. I wish this, I wish that. Whatever is making you feel like right now the worst, that's what I want you to focus on. I want to show you how you change it. The simple part about this is you can do something different like immediately. The hard part is, will you do it over a course of a year? Like, for example, and I've used this example before, going to the gym. Now, a lot of people make a lot of excuses going to the gym now, particularly with COVID-19. Well, I don't want to work outside. They got all the stuff outside. They got six feet distance. You got to wear a mask. All these little obstacles are just more excuses for you and I for not what? Exercising, get moving, get off the couch, walk up the hill. I mean, I live in an area that's hilly, but very few people are willing to walk down below the hill and come back up. There's a handful of people, okay? You don't have to necessarily join a gym, but I'm just using that as an example. What you're eating, sometimes what you're eating is over a lifetime is killing you. I grew up in a family, most of them died of heart failure, diabetes, just all related to food, actually. What they were eating, smoking, all kinds of stuff. So there are things you can do physically, we know today, that is like a slow death, but it'll kill you by the time you get to my age, 66. That's why the government has it set up by 65. Most people retire, or in years, in generations before, a lot of people would be dead by that age. That way, then they don't have to pay Social Security. You get it? Oh, and by the way, the Lord told me Social Security is really not for you, son, because you're not a poor man. Did you hear that? Number 2, it's called the law of time. Now, time is God's wealth, because all of us on this earth, you're only going to get so much time. I've had 66 years. How many years have you have? That's the time. That's one of God's wealth. Now, time is this. Listen to me closely. It's the process in which everything is in motion and being measured. Another term is management. Now, most people do not know how to manage their time effectively. You know, when you borrow some money here in America, banks, lending institutions, everybody's willing to give you some money if you qualify at a cost, right? Well, the longer you got the loan, what happens? The more interest you pay. That's called time. They call it compounded interest. And a lot of wealthy guys talk about, Warren Buffett, for example, he talks about compounded interest. He started investing at 8 years old. So my point is compounded interest. It's a time thing. and it's numbers. The Lord told me, son, always look at the numbers. Even when you're eating, they put on the packages what? The numbers. This amount of this amount of that. The banks, we want to see your numbers. What's your credit score? The lower the number, the worse of a rate you're going to get. The higher the score, the better money deal you get, right? Numbers are significant. So your time, who you spend your time with, who you listening to, who you around will affect every area of your life. Financially, physically, emotionally, mentally, socially, every way. Time is of the essence, and it truly is. So when you invest yourself, like you're doing now, listening to this video, this is a good time investment. Why? Well, because I'm guaranteeing you, there's the big if you pay attention, and if you do what I say doing, which I'm saying what God said do, you can expect a good outcome from what you've had in the past that has not been so good. This is where it starts. Number 3 is the law of harvest. Now this is this one is easy to see, but they don't call it harvest. I'm calling it the law of the harvest because here's the definition. It is the arrival, destination of the completed results of the outcome from all of the accumulation of the actions and movements that has occurred through time. Good, evil, right, wrong, incorrect. You see, there's a good way to do something, and then there's a bad way to do something. I used to say, there's such thing as good money, and then there's bad money. God talks about it in Psalm 73. The Bible is an amazing book, 66 books. It covers absolutely everything. Years ago, back in the 90s, I used to call the Bible my success manual. And the Lord reminded me, he said, son, you sure haven't said that? You've been involved in, listening to everybody else so much. You don't call my book success manual anymore. You call his books. I said, gee, Lord, he's sorry. He said, so you need to get back over here in my books first, because my books and what I'm saying is more powerful than all of them put together. And the other night I was reading somebody's book about basics of economics, and inside me it just felt so sour and stale that it was, I had to quit it. He said, see, that's what I'm talking about. You're farther ahead than he is, actually, just on what you know from my book. See, he's read the book, studied it, but he still don't have it. What's the difference? See, it's you inside, your intention. So the law of the harvest, Jesus said that if you would grab a hold of his instructions, he said that your life would be like this beautiful, magnificent tree, Mark chapter 4, where the birds will want to come and lodge and rest under your branches and trees. So the law of the harvest, that means this: whatever you see somebody or see something that's good, it's good. Like, what could I say? New car, that's a good thing. I mean, if they can afford it, they ain't struggling paying for it. Big, beautiful house, that's a good thing. Nice clothes, the best food possible, the best vacations. You can identify with that, right? Well, all of that stuff takes what? Money. It takes money to buy it. It takes money to take care of it. It takes money to support it. And that's what God told me. He said, son, I am talking about your wealth in here in Psalm 112. He told me, he said, where it says that the seed of the righteous, the generations will be mighty on the earth. He said, I'm not talking about kids. I'm not talking about children. Read the next verse. He said, wealth and riches will be where? in the house of the righteous. Nowhere in that Psalm 112 is he talking about children. That was a revelation to me. You check out, I may turn over there later. It was a wake-up call. So the law of the harvest is vital. Jesus said, by their harvest, you will know something. What would you know? You will know if it's something good or bad. How much pain do you experience, for example, from listening, following, and doing what someone tells you to do? Does your outcome get better? Does it get worse? He said, in other words, Jesus said, do men gather grapes of thorns? You ever been poked by a thorn? It hurts. Very painful. He said, neither do they gather grapes of a bramble bush. Rough life. It says that the way of people who violate God's law, the way of the transgressor, he said is hard. Forget man. Man's laws is not as high as God's law. If you're doing what I'm saying, God's laws, you ain't gonna have no problem with man's laws, because man's laws are way down there. That's like so low. Jesus never violated those. Why? Well, because he was way up here. Didn't need to. So the law of the harvest, the fourth law. Now this one, now in the scriptures it says cold and heat. But that's a law. It's called the law of cold. Let's take that one apart. Cold. What is cold? Cold has to do with the development. Here you go. This is when the things you are involved in are in a state of non-physical evidence. It's like an incubation period. You're developing. Cold is not quite fully developed yet. But if you hold steady, there's a process involved. And eventually you get to this fifth law called the law of heat. Cold and heat. This is when the things you are involved in are in a phase of power, success, winning, and prosperity. The law of heat. Now,
we're on the law of heat?
We're on the law of heat. That's the fifth one. I know it's a lot. I got to get the sixth law. Am I going too fast? Brenda's writing. The law of heat. Okay. And I'm gonna go more into those. The sixth one is called the law of summer. This is the wealthy, happy phase of life, success. Summer. What happens during summertime? People want to what? Vacation. They're happy, play, have fun. Generally speaking, right? That's a happy time. Success. But it all depends on what you've been doing with these other laws and phases to determine how well your summer is. And then here's the next law called the seventh law is called the law of winter. Winter. Now, when COVID-19 hit, listen to me closely. When COVID-19 hit earlier this year, January, February, that was the beginning of a winter season for many people, businesses, nations, everything. That's a type of winter. Now, the winter season, the phase and period of challenges, changes, adjustments, and refinements. One word I would describe the winter season is adaptations. How well are you able to adapt, make changes during a winter season? Now, for most people, for many people, well, most people, they are not prepared for winter. They're not prepared for winter. You can always tell. Why? Well, when there's something tragic or sudden unexpected disaster or something they just was hit from side blinded, immediate panic, fear, and anxiety rises. Okay? What I'm telling you, all the laws up until leading up to winter If you do those and understand how they work, you can still prosper and be successful and happy in a winter season that's going on around you. For example, Brenda and I, we were fortunate to go up to Big Bear, California during the winter. We've been in many places during the winter, and it's been pleasant. So not everybody experiences difficulty. What I wanted to know is, how do you do that? And see, I went to God myself, and I asked him, how do I live and have a happy, successful life and year all year round, like every day? He said, well, number one, will you really listen to what I'm saying? Now that's what he asked me. Will you really listen to what I'm saying first? And I said, yes, I will listen. He didn't ask me to do anything yet. He just said, listen. See, many people, they may hear you talking, but are they really listening to you? No, not generally speaking. This goes on every day. I remember driving up to Starbucks, and there was an order that got mixed up. Now, there happened to be two people with Brenda, but I said Brenda Jordan. The other Brenda was a Brenda somebody else. And I said this twice to the attendant. But they gave me the Brenda that was somebody else's drink. They got a mix-up. Why? Well, I know the guys are probably multitasking, and they heard it, but they didn't really listen to the last name. Got it mixed up. So I'm saying we live in a world where you're not going to get that kind of attention, typically, even at the best of places, because we're not really in tune. If we're not really in tune to listen to one another, what you think when it comes to listening to God will be? It's even more difficult for people to hear God talking to them. That's why he picks people like me, for example. And no, I'm not the only one that God can talk to intimately, but I can hear him say just about anything, all the time. Yes, all the time, every day, constantly. And it's wonderful. And because of that, we have a very close, tight walk together. He covers me, even when I make mistakes or miss it, as you say. Well, he said, okay, son, you missed it there, but I got you. Don't do that again. Okay, you know not to do that. I said, oh, wow, I didn't know that. I know you didn't know. See, that's what I mean. God will cover you. It just depends on where you are with him. And that's why I always tell people, if you will set yourself aside from everybody and anything, whatever you think is the most important to you, and then make him that important, watch stuff change for you for the better. Or stuff will start dropping off that will used to make you all tense up and stuff like that. I refuse to allow myself to get all anxiety up. I will escape to the mountains. That's what Jesus had to do. Jesus had to go away, get away from folks for a while. Because people got problems. Haven't you heard? And if you look even remotely successful and like you got it going on, they want to attach themselves to you to take your stuff. They don't want to hear what you got to say. So anyway, where was I? The law of winter, that was number 7. And then the 8th one is the law of day. I call it the law of day. Day and night. Now here we go. Day, we're going to talk about day. What is day? What do people do with this daylight, sunlight up there? It's the phase of application, participation, and engagement. In other words, that's the time to be productive. Production. I'm going to give you, I guess I can, and then the 9th law is the law of night, which is contemplation, rest. It's the phase of resting and quietness, listening within. Night. That's when things are quiet, it's dark, and you need to settle yourself down. At some point, you got to stop, in other words. That's why God made night. You notice everything comes down to a close. You can't just go 24/7 constantly. That's why he created night for you and I so we would sleep. Okay, and yes, sometimes in your night sleeping hours, God himself will come and visit you in dreams. Yes, he does that to me. That's why I know he's probably doing it to you, but many of you probably can't tell the difference yet. But I'm telling you, when you start to give yourself to some of the practical things, such as isolating yourself, praying by yourself, get quiet, try to take control of your own mind, you got to stop worrying about the things that concern you, because if you don't, then it's very difficult for him to actually really have a conversation with you. You know, Brenda and I were discussing some things today. And now we know how to work through it, because why? Well, we've been together 17 years. We get over ourselves, okay, and push through and come to a close. Okay, that's a good, healthy relationship. Well, what I'm saying is God is actually the same way. You know, if he really likes you, he won't let you go. He'll let you do your thing and go off base a little bit, but he's going to try to pull you back the correct way that's most beneficial for you. So those are the 9 laws, and I'm going to sum them up in these 9 words. Number 1, the law is design. Think of the word design. You're designing the year 2021 now, starting right after this video. You say, well, Kerwin, how do I do that? Well, I want you to think about what it is you want better to happen in 2021 and write it down. Just make a list. This is not, listen to me closely. I did not say you got to figure out how to make it happen. That's not what this is about. The first step is you need to think about it and write it down. That's it. I want you to come up with at least 5 things that you want to improve for you personally now. Personally, in your personal, private life. For 2021, I'm giving you 1 year for this to happen. I'm marking it down. Okay? Number 2 is management. That goes under the law of time. You're going to have to account better for where and what you're doing with the time that you get every day. Okay? I want you to stop yourself and start thinking and analyzing why you do with your time with what you do. Because a lot of you are wasting time. Even if you think it's something productive. Most people think praying and getting quiet somewhere is wasted time. I think differently. Because see, I think unless you're in a state of peace, okay, and learn how to take better control of your mind, particularly your mind, because most of you, your minds are running faster than your body. I was talking to Brenda earlier, and she's already into next week or something like that later in the day. So not to put my honey down, I get it. You have to plan. But when you're trying to quiet yourself down, you have to practice not thinking of what you got to do today, next week, next day, the day. This is a period where you're going to set all that down and you're going to allow God to talk to you. And I guarantee you, he won't talk to you about any of that stuff unless you force the issue. In other words, it's so pressing to you that, okay, we got to discuss that before I can discuss something that's more important to him. Because see, he's looking at not just next week, next year, stuff like that. He sees you like 10 years from today, or 20 years from today, or 100 years from today, or beyond your physical life, your physical body can handle. How about that? So that's how this being thinks. And so what I've had to learn, all the temporal stuff, yeah, it's important because I'm dealing with it, but it ain't that important. It ain't more important than me living forever. You see what I mean? So you get a different perspective on a lot of stuff. Because all of this, the things here in this life, They change constantly. Yes, we're to enjoy them. Yes, you should possess them. And yes, you shouldn't be worried about the future. Unless you're doing something with these 9 laws that bring it upon yourself. See, most of the trouble, I know from experience. I went back through when I turned my birthday 66, I thought about all the hell I went through when I was 18, 24, 27, and all of it was because of me. I didn't know what I thought I knew. I was hard-headed, stubborn, didn't want to listen to nobody, and I thought I could do better myself. And I did. It almost killed me twice. But God had mercy on me. You said he had mercy on you? Yeah. Because see, my heart inside was always to go for him, even though I was stupid. Okay? He allowed me, he kept me from dying before my time. Because he told me, Kerwin, I want you to live a long time, very healthy, very successful, very rich, very unusual for your age and for your generation. Because I want people to see you, they'll see my hand there. That's the purpose of it. So he said, you are not going to die early. You're not going to die tragic. You're not going to die sick. And you're not going to die broke. And I said, really, Lord? Yes. So all he asked me to do, can you believe it? I said, yeah, sure. So I'm going to wrap this up. I think that's enough. Is that okay, Lord? I got so much.
Design, write down what you want, account for your.
Okay. Design, management, produce,
What is that?
to produce, the law of harvest, meaning the outcome of what you're doing.
Take note of what your outcome is.
Yeah, I want you to start paying attention, in other words, to what's happening to you from the activities that you're doing throughout the day, such as, do you feel better about yourself? Number one. Is your relationship, did it get better with your husband or your wife or your girlfriend or boyfriend when you started to slow yourself down and notice these things? In other words, become more consciously aware of your activities better than you have been before. Because many people just run and do, and because they got to do and run and do, but they don't really stop it for a minute and say, gee, now why am I doing that? So I want you to pay more attention. The fourth thing I said, you got the other one, the law of coal. Coal is a development, the word development, incubation.
No, we're doing design, management, produce.
Produce, that's 3, and then number 4 is development. The law of cold, that's what I said. I was going to give you 9 words. The first one was design. Second one is management. Third one is produce. Fourth one is development. Fifth one I put for power, or you could use the word strength, that's heat. The 6th word was success for summer. 7 is the word adaptations, adapting. That's for winter. Number 8 is the word production for the law of day. And then number 9, actually for the one in number 9, I put the law of night, put the word pleasure. Pleasure. And in closing, isn't it interesting that this number 9 is the number of birth. You know, a woman carries a baby, for 9 months? And it births what? Life. So 9 represents a new life vision. And the Lord told me, anyone who learns how to maximize themselves within these 9 laws of the earth of life, for them will have a greater and better experience will occur for them. That's what he told me. Well, Father, I want to thank you for allowing me to share this. And I just ask, as this message and video goes out to those I sent it to, that they'll have an open heart, mind, and receive it, and go back over these things again and help them how to apply it starting immediately, so that the year 2021, they can say that it's been the best year, one of the best years ever in their lives. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, God bless everybody. Thank you for listening and seeing us. From Brenda and I to your family, Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.